everyone, and welcome to this episode number 2. April, do you want to introduce everything?
Hi everybody. I'm April Kling Meyer. I am the founder and creator of Creativity is Spirituality, and I'm so glad that you're here joining us. And today we'll be talking about reclaiming your spirituality. Last week was reclaiming your creativity. Today we're going to be talking about the other side of what I do, which is spirituality. And Anita, I'll just give it right back to you.
Okay, perfect. So welcome everybody. Do let us know if you are joining us live in the comments. If you want to put your name and then say hi where you're live stream, where you're streaming in from. And if you're watching the replay, put #replay so that we can come back in and say hello to you and see if you have any questions. If you do have a question during the live, if you can put a Q in front of your question, and it just helps us to identify apart from all the comments and things like that. So we are going to move forward with what's going on. So do let us know if you are joining us. I know there's a few of you joining us now. So do let us know if you have any questions throughout the live stream. And if you do, then we will definitely get to them. So April, it's really exciting. This is week 2 of your show. So we're going to crack on and go through the different questions that we've got, and then I'll let you sort of explain. So what is spirituality, and how are we, how are you going to define that today so that it gives everyone a little bit more of an explanation?
You got it. Yes, context is key here. Finding the spirituality, the way that I talk about spirituality right here and right now and in all of my work, it's your relationship to the divine, your creator. If you want to call that God, you can call that goddess. You can just refer to it as the deity of your understanding. I prefer to use either creator as a proper noun or divine. I'm also kind of referring as to your belief system. And really just the way that you develop that relationship. And how I like to define that for myself is I treat it a little bit like a scientific process involving hypothesis, observation, testing, and experimentation, knowing that I may never have a verified fact in front of me. And I may just end up with some really strong theories. And I hold those loosely in my hand. And also there's a strong element in spirituality of how we define ourselves, because generally speaking, our relationship with our creator or the divine, the God of your understanding, is really a projection of yourself. It's really how you see yourself. And that relationship, as seeing it as a projection of the self, can develop over time. It's a bit of a musculature, but that's how I'm defining it in this instance. And that's how I've observed it with pretty much everyone in spiritual and religious things. And also it's just about what's true for us, especially things that can't be proven, our relationship with our senses, our sensory relationships. And of course, there's more senses than the usual 5. I won't get into that right now, but all of our senses and how we relate to those to our spirituality. So with all of those factors in mind, that's how we're defining it today.
Wow, that's really interesting, actually. It really helps to sort of clear things up about what angle we're coming in from. So why is it important that we do reclaim our spirituality as we move forward?
Well, if you're here watching this video or listening, if this is being put on my podcast at some point, if you're here right now and you're present for this conversation, it's because this is a question that you're already asking yourself. Why is it important that I reclaim my spirituality? And you probably already have a lot of reasons that are very present for you. And that's generally going to involve teachers, leaders, and other authority figures in your past who have defined that just doesn't feel right for you anymore. Because we are indoctrinated from birth by our families, our communities, our parents, and the people around us, how the relationship is supposed to go. It is from an anthropological perspective very interesting and very like concerning to me that that sort of belief system is so heavily weighed upon us from the moment we're born. People who want to influence that, when in fact we're always free to choose the nature of that relationship with the divine. And we've always been told otherwise. We've always been told this were already made before we got here, and our relationship with the divine has to follow this set pattern that doesn't feel right for everyone. And I guarantee it, if you're here watching this video right now, live or otherwise, you already identify with that statement. It's really important that we gain or regain a sense of wholeness and purpose as we're alive and breathing on this earth. And also, there is a lot in my community who are trying to heal from trauma. And a lot of those people are trying to heal from religious trauma that has been exacted on them in a religious setting, which has done harm to their spirituality and the way that they view the divine, the way that they view God, our creator. And I am offering a different path.
Wow, gone back. That's really, really interesting. Sorry, I did it and then it came off. So it's really good that we can focus on you while you're answering the questions, because it's super important that people, they can really get to understand where you're coming from with how you help them. So moving on to number 3, which I think is really interesting. So who do we need to reclaim our spirituality from? Who around us do we actually need to do that?
Well, just like the previous video, that answer is probably going to be different for everybody who's watching this. And is the moment, it's the moment right now to start to check in with yourself and begin that inquiry. If you're watching this, who do you need to reclaim your spirituality from? But to give you some pointers and to point you in a certain direction to initiate that inquiry, I would say start with your family of origin, your community of origin, the religions and religious institutions that you have found to be authoritative in your life and present in your life. Not to mention the fact that you may have already begun the journey of questioning all of those original influences. You've started down that path. You've already embarked on a journey with a variety of spiritual teachers, leaders, and guides, some of whom may have led you further away from what felt good and right to you. Some of them could have even been abusive or toxic or egoic in your life, and you began to observe that, and it started to feel like, here we go all over again. We have to start this inquiry all over again. And I'm here to tell you, it's so important to always be asking ourselves this question: who do we need to reach? That way, if we are where we're being influenced, where we're being told to believe a certain somebody else's ego or by our own ego, we can start to break that pattern and start to move into a direction that feels more aligned.
It's really interesting. So so you have to really go back into what you were educated to believe, and then when you start questioning it, that's when you start to really dig into that. Is that right?
Yes, what you were educated to believe from every point in your past, from your origins, from your ancestors and onward, because there's going to be a lot of different, with any person that I talk to, any individual person's going to have a completely different path. And all along that path is going to be somebody who's telling you what's right and what's true and what's good about your beliefs. And we always have to question that. And we are hopefully spending a lot of time questioning that, but maybe there was a time in your life where you didn't feel like you had the right to question that. You didn't feel like you had the freedom to question that. You didn't feel safe questioning that. And what I like to do is I like to create a safe space to question that. I'm never going to tell somebody what they can or cannot believe. I'm always going to tell people to take it in the direction that they feel is right. And I'm always going to encourage that inquiry.
Wow, that's really interesting. So if we move on to number 4, which is like, when is it time to reclaim our spirituality? So, you know, how do we know it's something that we need to do? What are the sort of signs that you would look for in yourself on, like, when do you start questioning?
Yes. Again, that's going to be different for everybody. And I also want to say that this question is similar to a question that we addressed in our previous video, which is, when is it time to reclaim our creativity? And I want to say that the answers to that are going to be extremely, the whole umbrella that we're under right now is creativity is spirituality. They're so similar to me that they are the same thing. So the answer to that and question, Anita, and thank you for asking, it, going to be similar. And just to rehash, dissatisfaction with life, feeling unable to change or cope with the way that your life is, feeling like you don't have purpose, feeling rudderless, not having any direction, starting to feel that life is meaningless and has no purpose. That is the absolute unifying gut bomb of anybody that is questioning what they've been taught from birth, is that thing that if everything I've been told since birth about God is not necessarily true, that means life has no meaning. I'm here to tell you that it does. It just has to be a bit reframed, and it has to be done by you personally, individually. I also see patterns, and this may not be true for you. If it resonates, great, but I'm kind of talking about what I've observed. We have a tendency to yield to the truth as it is perceived or presented by those who claim authority. And authority is a very magical power. It's a gigantic power in our lives. We always need to be questioning who we yield that to. And if we're not seeing ourselves as part of a whole, if we're seeing ourselves as lonely, separate, a part of it all, to me, that I believe, and that resonate most strongly with me, is a signpost that we are moving further away from what it is that is divine. If we're moving closer to the divine in our life, that relation, creator, we're not alone. We're not going to feel as if we're a part of it all. We're going to feel like we are a part of the whole, seeing ourselves as in all that we see around us, and we're never going to see ourselves as separate. Another example that I see is a poor relationship with the body, and that has a very triggering undertone. Like I'm saying, to diet and exercise, nothing could be further from the truth. What I'm suggesting is that we re-embodied, that we are able to accept the bodies the way that they are right here in the present moment. We feel able to collaborate with the body. We feel nothing adversarial towards it, like it needs to change, that it needs to do better or be better than it is right here in this moment. If we are not feeling that way, if we're feeling adversarial towards it, if we're feeling like our body needs to change upon our demand or our command, then we're also moving further away from the divine. And it's so important we develop relations with our body as if we don't identify with them. They are not us. They are our flesh vehicles. They are here to house us. And we would never look at our car or our house as something that is us. We never identify with our house or our car as being us like we do with our bodies. We clean our homes. We clean our cars. We make our homes beautiful by decorating them. We would never our homes, oh, you're stupid and I hate you and you're not what I want you to be, and hate on it. We would always just work on that to get it where it needs to be and just appreciate it, generally speaking. I know that I have some things I'd like to change about my house, but I would never identify with it and internalize that as being something I hate about myself. And that is a journey that I've had to go on. And that is a journey I'd like to take you on. I have some really, but also a time to reclaim our spirituality. That would mean just, if we're just being really easily triggered, on social media, we get pretty triggered. We spend all day scrolling on social media, just outraged or saddened by stuff that we see. And if we're easily for us, or numbing out on that sort of media, we need to be careful that that's not moving us further away from divinity, creativity, our creative energy. I'm seeing that pattern a lot, and I'm also seeing it in myself. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm looking down on anyone, or that I'm in an ivory tower here. I'm very much observing this in myself, which is why I'm bringing forward to the people that I want to reach and help.
Yeah, it's really interesting the comparison that you made between it's almost like your possessions, that you see them as they are, and you don't, like you say, you don't judge them, but it's easy to judge yourself. And
You're right.
So you were talking about how people can work with you, and how, if they're feeling like that they could approach you. We just go off track a little bit. How do you actually help them to, with the creativity, how do you actually help them to bring out these things so that they can express themselves more?
Me personally, I'm going to encourage anybody that works with me, any clients that I have, to do really kind of a list of pretty structured things. This pretty much doesn't change. What you're going to get working in with me, and how I'm going to explain to anyone how they should reclaim their spirituality, is to start very basic. Spend more time in nature. Expose yourself to nature. That may involve defining or redefining what nature is to you, but whatever that means for you, do so in full presence and consciousness. That will be one checkpoint for any work that you do with me. Remaining focused on the here and now, staying present, being aware of your senses in the environment you're currently in, as opposed to projecting into the future, which shows up as anxiety, or projecting into the past, which shows up as depression. Developing compassion for ourselves and using those skills to extend compassion to others, and not the other way around, starting here. Developing a practice of forgiveness and atonement in equal measure. And I very much define forgiveness very differently from a lot of religious institutions. And I also define atonement very different from religious institutions. Forgiveness and atonement happen very much all right here. Don't necessarily have to involve another person. So I'll just leave that at that. Maintaining a listening discipline, such as meditation. Pairing that with an expressive discipline, such as prayer or creativity. And finding safe communities, establish, maintain guidelines and boundaries, either with me or wherever you find it where you are. But if you work with me, building and establishing safe communities and establishing safe spaces is something I'm very gifted with, and that is what I facilitate.
Wow. So that, that is how we reclaim our spirituality then, isn't it? Is to do any of those things with you and with yourself, because those things help you to make that connection. So if someone was to resonate with what you're saying at the moment about how they feel that they are being engulfed with, say, social media, they are being distracted, and they're not finding that they have that sort of passion and that goal to move forward, how how do they, what would be the first steps that they would take to reach out to you?
Well, thank you, Anita. There is going to be a link in the description of this video. I also have a link in every one of my social profiles that is a Linktree link. There will be a menu, a small menu of ways to start working with me. If you're ready to work one-on-one with me, the best thing to do is to schedule a 30-minute moment for us to have a conversation that will basically involve me listening very deeply to what's going on for you. And that link will be under my Linktree under Book Time to Talk. But there are also a variety of tools that I offer that if you want to do something a little more self-directed at first to kind of see what I'm about, kick the tires of what it is I'm about, I offer a lot of different options there. But the two primary ones are the Devotion 28-day journal to intimate love of the body and the self through the eyes of friendship. And I also am a massive proponent of dream journaling. And I offer a little guidebook to get you started and get you encouraged. But I also offer a self-directed workshop that has a video component, journal template that you can just print off or copy into your own notebooks and journals. And you can start that today. But yeah, we don't necessarily I have other stuff that will get you started in this inquiry. If you do want to work with me one-on-one though, I welcome you with open arms. Just go to linktr.ee/April Kling Meyer, APRILKLINGMEYER, and look at the menu available to you, or just go straight to calendly.com/April Kling Meyer, and that link will be in the description of this video.
So, whilst obviously people are watching and they might have some questions, so if you do have questions, then do pop them in. But I'm interested in explaining a little bit more about the dreams, because obviously you've got a free download, which it goes into, you know, making your dreams work. So can you explain to people what that means and how that can help them reclaim their spirituality?
Well, I haven't talked about this yet in this video, so I'm glad you brought that up. Our computer of our minds and our bodies is our subconscious. Our subconscious stores everything we see, everything our senses pick up. Our subconscious stores it perfectly. And for those of us who are easily distracted, or those of us who have memory issues, myself included, we really need to treat that as a call from the subconscious to develop a better relationship. And I believe, and this may be true for you as well, that the subconscious is the best thing we have, the best thing that we've been given by our Creator to establish a sense of intimacy with divine collective consciousness. There are only a few ways that our subconscious can intervene in our lives, and those pretty much fall into two categories. And saying here isn't fresh or original. It is coming from the experts. It's coming from Carl Jung primarily. So I'm original what I'm saying, but I do want to put it very, very succinctly in this frame. That's going to fall in one of two categories. It's going to fall in subconscious coming into your life and tripping you up and making decisions for you that you look back on and go, hey, why did I do that? I don't know why I did that. I don't understand why that happened to me. And then the other way that the subconscious can come into our lives and help us is by coming to us through our dreams. And I think we tend to ignore that. We tend to think of our dreams as something else on Netflix that's just in the background. And as soon as we switch it off, we move on with our lives. But I'm here to tell you that dreams are a lot more important than whatever it is you're watching on Netflix. Your dreams are the primary way that your subconscious has to communicate with you. Your supercomputer has a lot to say about how you're living your life and how it can help. And your dreams are the guidebook for that. And if you're dream journaling, you're right I don't want to say too much more, because I feel like if I give too much and find out what it is I have to say in my guidebooks and in my workshops, but I feel like that's a really good place to start, is to tell you that this is going to appear in your life in one of two ways. It's either going to trip you up and make you feel like you are ill-fated, or it's going to make you aware of some really important patterns in your life through your dreams. Which one are you going to pay attention to? I know which one I'm paying attention to.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, that's a really good time to sort of end it, really, so that people can actually take that away and think about it and process that. And obviously, if you are watching this on the replay and you do have a question, then do pop it into the comments, because April and I will keep an eye out on it. And if I see it first, I'll let April know it's there, and vice versa. And I just think that there is so much that we've still got to look into with April and the creativity of spirituality. And I know that you've got a podcast that you've had for the last couple of seasons, and this is a big step into actually getting people to really fully understand what it is that you offer and how you offer it. And you've got some really exciting plans for 2022. So if this is of interest to any of you, then don't forget to subscribe to April's YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube, or follow her on LinkedIn if you're watching on LinkedIn, and do reach out to her. I've popped the link in the chat for the Linktree link, so you can see all the different areas that you can reach out and help. So do you want to have any finishing words?
Certainly. Just thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And I would love to hear from you if there's anything I can do to help. And most of that's going to just be listening to you and what you have to say.
Perfect. Okay, brilliant. So we'll see you next week.